In this tutorial, we'll learn how to use the Read Text from CSV plugin for the Butter text analysis software. What this plugin will do is allow us to read in text from CSV spreadsheet files and then pass those texts on to other plugins to do different types of text analysis procedures. Now for this example, I'm going to be using a CSV file that I have that contains a bunch of TED Talk data. Inside of this CSV file, we have 5 columns. We have a column that has different identifying information about the TED Talks, including things like the name of the speaker and the name of the TED Talk. We have a column that contains a URL to each TED Talk. And then importantly, we have 2 columns that contain the text we actually want to analyze. This includes the transcripts for each TED Talk in English and transcripts for the same TED Talks in German as well. Now we can see within Butter that this is a top-level plugin, which means you need to add it to the top of a text analysis pipeline chain. And when we go to the plugin settings, we can see that we have a few different options that we can set about the CSV file that we want to read. This includes things like the CSV file's encoding and the characters that are used within the CSV file as delimiters and quotes. Now these can vary from region to region and often depend on where you are in the world. So by default, we're using commas and quotation marks, a double quotation mark. But some places will use semicolons or even a horizontal bar or a pipe. So depending on the data set that you have, you'll want to change these settings accordingly to fit what the structure of your CSV file is. And if you don't know what the structure of your CSV file is, you can usually open them up if they're not too large in a text editor like Notepad++, to see what characters are being used as delimiters and quotes. There's a lot of other information on the internet about CSV files and how they're structured, so we won't go into that in this tutorial. Now once you've changed these settings to reflect how your CSV file is structured inside, you can go to Choose File and then select your CSV file. Now if you run into any issues here, or if you don't see the column names show up in these 2 boxes, chances are there's an issue with one of your CSV file settings, like the encoding or the delimiter or quote settings. Now we can see in this left box, we have all of the column names that were in our original CSV file that we're reading in. In this box, we want to choose which column to use as our row identifier. So this is something kind of like a file name. Which column do you want to use to track which text is being analyzed at any given time? So we'll use talk name for this data set. If you have something like participant numbers, you'll want to use that. Now in this box, we have to choose which columns contain the text that we actually want to analyze. So to start, we'll just analyze the English transcript columns. So what's going to happen with this plugin is it will read each row of our data set and extract the talk name as the identifying information, and then the text itself in the transcript _en column, and then pass that on to the next plugin. Now if we want to analyze multiple columns of text at the same time, we can do that as well. We can check as many columns as we want that contain text. And importantly, if we want to analyze them all separately, we would check this box here, treat each column as a separate text. What this will do is make sure that these texts do not get combined before being analyzed, so we can analyze every column separately if we want to. If we don't check this, then all of the columns get merged together into a single text. Now as an example, we can take the text that are read in from this plugin and save them out to plain TXT files. So I'll show you very quickly what this looks like. I'm going to create a new folder and name it TXT, and this is where we'll save the output from this pipeline. And I'll run this very quickly and show you. Right now there's nothing in this folder, and the pipeline is running and it fills up the folder with text files. So this can be a very convenient way to take texts that are in a CSV file and then break them out into separate files if you want to. Now, as another example, let's say that we want to analyze the lexical diversity or the lexical richness for the English and the German transcripts separately. So what we'll do is we'll go back into the settings for this plugin, Read Text from CSV. We'll make sure that we're checking off both of these columns. So we want to analyze the text that is both in the English transcript column and the German transcript column. And we want to treat these as separate text. We don't want to merge them together. So this plugin will read in the text from the CSV file, and then we'll want to tokenize the texts, calculate our lexical richness scores, and then save our lexical richness scores out to a separate CSV file. And I'll run this very quickly, and I'll cancel it early just so you can see what the output looks like from this procedure. So here you can see that that original talk name column from the original data set here is being used as the text ID column in our output. Additionally, the segment ID tells us which column each of these texts goes to. So in each case, we have the English and the German columns being analyzed separately. And for each one separately, we're calculating things like type token ratio, moving average type token ratio, and so on. And that's it. That's how you use the Read Text from CSV plugin for Butter.